ဒီနေ့ပြောမှာကတော့ crisis management framework because right ဒီအခုချိန်မှာဖြစ်နေတဲ့ဥစ္စာက crisis ကြီးတစ်ခုဖြစ်နေတယ်ဆိုတော့ I want to give you for some of you who attended crisis management CCM course, right? You are probably a review, but it's a good review. But some of you came to ASC and some of you came to CSRT. You may not have been familiar with this crisis management framework. So, okay. So, hunin time APC SS time deals are non-attribution. You know, dinit pyo like the usa tumiago polo mia, lochin enthusiasm permission down, no? Okay. And now customer by the APC SS time transparency, mutual respect, and inclusion. So alone sagabio thing. Yeah. So what is a crisis? Crisis look your line, Ludia, Miado Apien, Tinaga, the incident or critical event. So about those ideas are a good solution, COVID-19. Amama crisis raga reaction. The COVID-19 right? The event go ludia below response reaction pile. So that saga crisis. Again, so about the COVID-19 pit there, ludi machivu solution the crisis maholi. Did mala. ဒါပေမဲ့ဘာကြောင့်လူတွေနဲ့ထိတွေ့လာတဲ့အခါကျတော့ဒီဥစ္စာ crisis ဖြစ်လာတယ်အဲ့ဒီအချိန်မှာဖြစ်လာလို့ရှိရင်လူတွေကဒီရဲ့ဟိုနင်းဒီ event ကိုပေါ့နော်ဘယ်လိုစဉ်းစားလဲဘယ်လိုfeeling ဘယ်လိုဖြစ်လာလဲပေါ့နော်ဒီဥစ္စာဘာဖြစ်လဲဆိုသူတို့စိတ်ထဲမှာထင်လာလဲသူတို့ဘာတွေလုပ်လဲအဲ့ဒီဥစ္စာအတွက်ကိုဘာလို့ response လုပ်လဲ so physical emotional အားလုံးဒီဥစ္စာတွေကthe response ဖြစ်တဲ့ဥစ္စာဒါ crisis နားလဲလားကျွန်မပြောတာနာ you know အဆင်ပြေလား
ပြေပါတယ်ဆရာမ
okay all right so ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ crisis ဆိုတာကတဲ့ is a perception of an unpredictable event that threatens important expectancy of stakeholders and can seriously impact an organization performance and generate negative outcome. So crisis at college, it can be positive, but because people perceive it negatively, right? And it can turn into a negative outcome. So, hello? ဘယ်သူပြောနေတာလဲဘယ်သူစကားပြောနေတာလဲစကားမပြောလို့ဒီဘက်ကိုပါလဲစကားပြောချင်လို့ရှိလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုနေ mute လုပ် Hello ဘယ်သူကခဏလေးဘာဒီဥစားokay ဒီဥစား okay yeah let's right yeah okay mute လုပ်ထားလိုက် okay so ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ဒီ crisis ဆိုတဲ့ဥစ္စာကိုဟိုနည်းပါလဲ manage လုပ်ဖို့အတွက်ကဒီ scholar တွေပေါ့နော်ဒီပညာရှင်တွေကလိုက်ပြီးတော့လေ့လာထားတယ်ဟိုနောက်ပြီးတော့အရင်တော့ဖြစ်သွားတဲ့ crisis event တွေကိုလည်းလိုက်ပြီးတော့လေ့လာထားတယ်အဲ့ဒီအချိန်မှာသူတို့ဒီဥစ္စာ stages of crisis ဆိုပြီးတော့သူတို့လုပ်ထားတယ် so ဒီမှာကြည့်လိုက်လို့ရှိရင်အဲ့မှာ1990တွေကစရှိတယ်နော်နောက်ပြီး99 94 1990အခုဆိုလို့ရှိရင်နောက်ဆုံးကတော့ Crandall စတာလုပ်ထားတဲ့ဒီ crisis management the framework that's the framework we'll talk about today and it includes before crisis during crisis after crisis and then the element of his crisis framework include landscape survey strategic planning crisis management and organizational learning. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Crandall Bioraraga, he said there is when you manage crisis, right? This part, landscape survey, is before, right? Strategic planning. Start before, but when you're doing those processes, you have to look at both internal landscape and external landscape, right? And then when the crisis occur, now crisis is occurring, and especially with the COVID-19, you have to deal with both internal and external. And internal is more of an organizational inside the organization that is charged with dealing with the crisis. In COVID-19, scenario, it's the governments, right? Internal working of the governments. Then there's an external landscape, meaning the public, right? There's a two element to this framework. So that's what I'm going to focus in on. Organizational learning stage, we will worry about that later, but I wanted to focus in on, the element of crisis management stage, right? Surah right here is a crisis management stage. And this is a Boyan Hart and Stern is their framework. So the first part of when the crisis event occur is sense making. So seeing the critical issue, what are the key issues? Because there may be many things, right? These are complex events, right? When the crisis occur. And then especially human emotion, human reaction is always complex. And out of that, you have to kind of understand what are the key components, critical issue in this. So in order for you to do that, you can utilize variety of tools that APCSS that you have learned at APCSS. One of the things you can use is like AI, right? What is AI? AI mamila. AI, appreciative inquiry, right? Appreciative inquiry. Or domain mapping. Remember gap analysis? Gap analysis, right? And then another thing to make sense out of the what's happening is also through causal loop. So these are some of the tools you can apply to the current trying to understand what is happening and where are the critical issues, right? Remember at the when you do the causal loop, you're looking for some of those nodal key elements. Do you remember doing that? Anybody remember doing that? Causal loop, remember causal loop? Yeah.
Yes, remember causal loop, yes.
So you're trying to identify some of the critical issue, and those are the tools that you can use. So that's why we teach you causal loop, not for fun. And it's not fun, I know that. And then once you decided on what are the critical issues, you have to make decisions, right? And there is an element of collective decision making. Yes, one person maybe at the head have to make the final decision, but collective decision making is much preferred in time of crisis and also in time of a complex, emergencies, right? Because these are complex. And then go through problem solving, and then identify there's a vulnerabilities, tension, and because there will be people that want you to conform, and there will be conflict between people, and you have to be able to overcome that. And that's kind of a leadership, and also building the crisis management team, right? And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. So it's easy to view this seemingly simple process, but actually implementing it is very difficult. So, and then now you have to, this part is related to more external. It's about communication, which relates back to our last week issue, right? Last week session on crisis communication. It's very important. It is not good enough to do the right things on the ground, but you have to be able to communicate to the larger public And especially in time of pandemic, where they personally will, have the effect on it, and they're very scared. They have a lot of anxiety. And they want more information. So if the government is not giving information, they will go somewhere else to get it. And that may not be the most accurate, right? That may not be the most accurate information they're getting. And during that time, a lot of the bad actors can take opportunity to get their message out if the government is not getting out the information. So government has to get ahead of crisis. And that's why, last week we talked about how Governor Cuomo is doing daily briefing every day. And if you want to see the textbook perfect case of how to communicate in time of crisis, is Governor Cuomo. He is absolutely right on in his communication style. He starts with a lot of empathy. He understands people are scared, and he will acknowledge that. And he's very, but also he has a lot of facts. He really understands the issue, and he will demonstrate that. But he also will bring in like a human story about how a nurse at the Elmhurst Hospital is dealing with the patient overload, right? And then he will say, I am trying my best, but I have all these limitations. I cannot get enough ventilators. So he also makes sure that people know the real stuff and real challenges that he's facing. So people watch him, not from even New York, all over United States watch him because they make him feel, he makes them feel better. Even though they know, he tells them, we're gonna have about 100,000 deaths. He tells them that. He tells them that. He is truthful, right? But he does he wanna make sure that the information, there's no information gap from the government perspective. And the government information gets to the people. And also he's teaching people, because in this, especially this virus, they said that if you do, people has to exercise, they have to be vigilant, they have to be disciplined and, staying away from people, right? So during that communication session, you start to send a message of how you want them to participate in solving this crisis, right? So that's where the meaning-making external landscape is really, really important. So, okay. Then here is the internal part. Common characteristics in highly effective teams in time of crisis. There are 6 elements to highly effective teams in dealing with crisis teams. 1 is diversity of team members, Lumiozo, with the Neozone background, with variety of background, because these are complex, right? Even in this COVID-19 issue, it's not only health, but it's also, we deal with transportation. It deals with international relations. It deals with economics, just to say the few, right? So you need variety of people that will participate. You need a lot of experts with a different background. So, sorry. And then the second one is shared leadership, back to collective decision making, right? Sometimes, some situation, I may not have the expertise, but that person who on the ring will have it. So I might have to, tell him, you take on, I will be in your support, and that's okay. Their leadership, right? And then having common goals. The team need to have a common vision of what end state looks like. Where are we going? Where are those critical nodes, right? Earlier, remember sense making? You have identified specific. So one thing, this is critical, another person that this is critical, that then you don't have a unity of effort going toward the one end state. So we have to make sure, the leaders has to make sure, the team has to make sure their common goal. What is it that you're trying to achieve, right? And then strong communication. And strong communication is within the team. This is internal communication. Remember, so there are two pieces to the crisis. Internal to the team. So in this case, governments, within the government, and then external, which is the public. Right? And then trusting relationship. You know, in order for the team to be effective, you have to develop trusting relationship. And how do you do that? Especially sometimes in time of crises, right? You're put together last minute. You've never worked together before, and then suddenly you have to work. And during those times, professionalism is your element that will get you trust building quickly. So you have to know what you're talking about. And back to the diversity of team members. You need team members that are, you know, highly capable, right? And then once you think that they're highly capable, then you trust them. You trust them. So in time of crisis is really important. But of course, all of this, if you can exercise it before the crisis, it works better, right? But right now we don't have that. So here is I need to see everybody. Here is the common characteristics of, back to the crisis. Diversity of team members, right? Diversity of team members gotဒီလိုပဲသိတယ်မလားဒီစင်တကောင်နဲ့ပုံနာ6ယောက် so အဲ့ဒီတစ်ခုခုဖြစ်ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လူတွေပုံများများဒီလိုမျိုးကိုင်နေလေဒီဥစ္စာဆင်းကြီးတကောင်ကဘာလဲဆိုတာပိုသိလေဆိုတော့ဒီဥစ္စာကိုဦးနင်းပါလေဒီဥစ္စာ pandemic ဆိုတော့ health ပဲเนาะ health ပဲဆိုတော့ health နဲ့ကလူတွေကြီးပဲဒီဥစ္စာလုပ်နေလို့ရှိလို့ရှိရင်သူတို့တွေက economic တို့ဦးနင်းတို့ transportation တို့ international relation တို့အဲ့ဒါတွေကိုအသေးချာတွေ့နိုင်မှာမဟုတ်ဘူးဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ဒီ multi agency interagency cooperation and in developing the team is really really important no yeah so di ma solution le ye de le pa ro right you have to have the law and order right law and order is one of the component and so I think that in the COVID-19 based on what Chocho wrote there half of it military as well right military members are on the task Chocho okay so in the team they said according to this study you should have at least these type of people the executive so who is the leader or and you know making final decision the idea person is they're looking at the issue and coming up with different options they're trying to create and it doesn't have to be just one person you know it can be and also executive doesn't have to be one person back to remember share collective decision making it may be you know because maybe Dosu is there but maybe another person who knows a lot about health pandemics you know so I don't know but idea person that can be more than one the communicator someone that is really good at communicating both internally and externally and that could be two different people maybe some people are good at internally communicating to the team and then some people are really good at dealing with the public you know outside people so it could be more than one right but you need someone that is good at it the doom merchant so this person is someone that always looking at the worst case scenario in the worst case what's going to happen what worst so again it can be more than one person right worst case scenario and that the other person the humanist that person is thinking about what is going to happen to the people that person is always thinking about people right and the bookkeeper someone that is collecting data making sure the resources are flowing how much resources you need so those are the type of people that you need on the team according to Register and Larkin right? And diverse team member with different professional expert team is required for for almost every crisis. One crisis are never just, you know, a linear thing, right? They're always complex. And then back to why diverse teams are smarter, because the study has shown over and over that when you have the same type of people looking at the issue, they don't see it from the different perspective. Back to the elephant and the six blind men, right? So reason the research has shown, right? So I want to give you an example of why diverse teams are smarter. Is a long time ago, there was remember the bird flu outbreak, right? Bird flu outbreak. And then to remedy that, there was a team that decided to give training, because it's a handling of the birds, right? Handling of the chicken. They decided to give training. And so the team decided that we're going to give training to the head of household. And so they spent all that money and gave training to head of household all year long. And then they went back and assessed it. Nothing really changed. It didn't move very much. And they came to realize that when they assessed it, they were giving training to head of household, usually men. Chicken are raised by women. Chickens are killed by women. Women cook the chicken, right? But they give training to men. Because when they look at the team that put together this plan, they were all men. And so, so, you know, having not enough diversity on the team, sometimes, you know, you have that blind spot, right? You have that blind spot. And so more people looking at the issue, like the elephant and the six blind men, you are able to able to see the problem better. Right? So that's why that is. Yeah. So here also, again, we talked about women, right? And this study showed that when women are involved, that automatically add a bit of a diversity to the team. Yeah, and this was, the more women come into the team get more and more smarter, according to this this study. There was 192 teams they put in different composition, and more women in it. So make sure your crisis management team has some women representation, right? We say about 30%, right? 30% require to have that women effect, because your population, half of Myanmar, actually more than half of population, 52% is women. So how they are experiencing the crisis now, COVID-19, may be different from how men are experiencing the crisis. So when your policy to roll out, right, the remedies to roll out into the population, if you don't have women on the team, you may have blind spots in rolling out those policies, right? And then also what we found is that they also start to account for the elderly and children, right? So the women has a little bit more multiplier effect than men. So be sure your crisis management team has at least 30% women represented. Yeah. So share leadership, next one, right? Share leadership. So here is the so decentralized share leadership means you are kind of giving a lot of authority to the people on the ground, right? Crises happen really fast. So if you have to keep on coming back to the centralized decision making, you will lose the opportunity, or you may not be able to keep up with the crisis, you know, path. So that's why it's give people autonomy. Decentralized decision making is recommended. And then creating climate for encouraging initiative. Remember, you need a lot of new ideas. And every crisis is different, and you may need a lot of new solutions, new things, right? So you need to, as a leader, in this crisis team, create climate for encouraging new things, people to bring up new ideas, right? So that's what you have to do. And review progress and coach. And in order for you to do that, you need a lot of data and information, right? So you got to coach people through this process. And then in this type of leadership, right, shared leadership is considering yourself as a resource instead of a manager. So you play like a coach. You are more like a coach rather than a team captain. Does it make sense? So when you're a coach, right, let's say soccer, football team, right? Coach doesn't play, he doesn't go into the field, right? But he set the strategy, coaches people, he teach people how to do things, or she, could be a she, yeah. But they don't have to be playing. So they become a resource instead of manager, right? And you're decentralizing a lot of decision making into the front line, because they are going to have to make decision quickly in the front. And if they can't handle it, they have to feel like they can call you and say, you know what, I'm facing this problem. Can you help me? All I need is to bounce off my idea, And being that, it could be a very helpful in this type of environment. Yeah. Now, common goals. I talked about the common goals earlier. So when you're setting common goals, right, you define short-term goal, long-term goal, right? And then also you try to get team members involved in developing goals so that you get their buy-in. So it's the team's goal, not just from top down saying like, this is going to be the goal. And so ownership is always good, right? And then clear communication of the goal. Clearly communicate what is your goal. Don't try to, word it so that it's wishy-washy and you don't really know. It's using all these words and they can mean so many things, right? So you having a clear goal is really, really important. Once your team member has clear goal, they really understand it, and then they have ownership of it, you let them go. They know, so they can make decision out in the field, right? They can make decision out in the field. So strong communication, again. So clearly communicating your goal, but here is some of the essential element of strong communication. I call it KIT-CAT, coordination. Keep others informed of what they need to know without overburdening them with unnecessary information, right? Some people over communicate and they give him all kinds of information and you lose the focus of you dilute your message, right? So you want to just to make sure, what do they need to know? Or, and so be concise, right? So you need to understand who need to know what, right? Don't send email like, everybody, no, just say, okay, this information this person really need it, this person don't need it, confirmation, make sure the right people have the information they need. Make sure, so you send them an information and then you come back and say, did you get it? Follow up and say, hey, did you get the information I sent you? Do you understand it, right? You have to say that. So because the wrong message can be worse than none at all. Message that you send has to be accurate, right? So don't lie, don't cover, and those are the things. But people won't do that. People will try to lie and cover if they make a mistake when you don't create this safe environment. We know that in time of crisis, right, things are happening really fast and you're dealing with the situation you may have never seen before. And like I said, crisis is different for every crisis, right? Every crisis is different. So, you know, there is a possibility of honest mistake, and that if that happened, you need to create an environment people are willing to tell you, I made a mistake. And then as a leader, you just say, okay, you know, why did it happen? What can we do to prevent it from happening? So when I was a leader, I never masu they have to tell me that why did it happen, and I want them to tell me what are they going to do next time to prevent it. I'm fine. I don't, yeah. Okay, so timeliness, right? Timeliness, not too early, too late, right? And then last, trusting relationship. So trust, he said, Simon Sinek, he's an excellent motivation speaker and leadership guru. He said, trust is a feeling, right? It cannot be taught, it cannot be forced, it has to be earned, right? It cannot be built overnight, it evolves over time with action. So if, because it cannot be built overnight, it evolves over time with action. Sometimes when you're put together last minute to deal with the crisis, right? You don't have time. So my thing was, if you don't have time, be competent, be professional. And that is your go-to solution to develop trust between the member, is being professional. Being professional. So exercise the profession. And we can talk about professionalism in detail next session, okay? But just remember that professionalism is really, really critical in time of crisis in building trust among each other. Okay? And then leaders must create circle of safety for the member, right? Back to when you make a mistake, leader has to create that safety so that they will tell you, so that you as a leader also know something went wrong and I can fix it. If they're covering it up, right, I can't fix it, right? I don't know something has gone wrong as a leader, right? So you want to know if their problem, I want to know right away so that I can apply my experience, my, you know, solution to it, or I can go to someone with the solution to it, right? So I can help the team correct the mistake. And of course, leadership is really important. Set the tone for their organizational culture, because being safe is a part of their organizational culture. So we can talk more about organizational culture also, if it is one of other topic. That's a organizational culture. How to build good organizational culture is also a big. I can have a whole session on that. So if you want it, let me know. We can do that next time. And then leaders lead. But lead doesn't mean that you're being lording over people. You're not being top down. There are many styles of leadership, right? And many times in today's environment, what is most effective is considered to be adaptive and supportive leadership. Again, that's something, again, we can talk about it for a whole entire session next. So here is another person talking about their different type of trust, right? 3 C's of trust: capability trust, allowing people to make decisions, involving them in discussion, trusting their opinion and input. That's how you build trust. There's contractual stuff, being consistent, keeping your word, right? Keeping arrangement, and managing expectations, right? And then the third is the communication trust, sharing information, providing constructive feedback to the people, and speaking with good purpose about the people. Okay, so that's that is for now. As I, you know, so we have a little bit of, we talked about more of an external communication last week, right? Work crisis communication with the public. but this time we take a little bit more about internal communication and how do you build effective crisis team.